Welcome, everybody, to the Think Like a Marketer Show, episode number 11. And we're going to be talking about the importance of refining your product or service. Hey, I hope everybody is having a great week this week. Here we are on Wednesday. I mean, God, can you believe how time flies? Kids are going back to school. I took my daughter back to school in Chicago. She goes to school year round, right? So she's out this short amount of time. I fly back and forth between Houston and Texas. So she's there, and it's like, wow, where did the time go? I didn't get to squeeze all of the family vacation into like a month, right? So she's in the fourth grade. So, and I'm sure that people here in Texas, where I'm at, and the rest of the country are starting to go out and do the school shopping for their kids, and that's an exciting time. Or they're putting their last vacation, and my guest is one of those. He's out with his family in the Carolinas, enjoying it, and we're excited to have him on the show. When I decided to have this guest on, I was like, okay, so I'm going to have a chiropractor on a show that I interview marketers and entrepreneurs. And I was talking to a couple of my friends, and like, why are you having a chiropractor on your show? I'm like, first off, if you need to go check out this guy. This guy is not just a chiropractor. I mean, yes, he is proven his worth in the chiropractic space as a hands-on guy. But I think he is a light at the end of the tunnel for other chiropractors, and not just chiropractors. I mean, for anyone who sells their time for money, who has to deal with the thought of, am I going to be bending over this and looking into people's mouths the rest of my life? Or am I going to be doing whatever chiropractors, different types of modalities or whatever service? Or am I going to be a lawyer trapped in this office full of books? So I'm excited to introduce to you the founder of the Evidence Based Chiropractic, and this is just one of the many things that he's got his hands in. He's got projects that he's working on, from the Smart Chiropractor to the PivotBay Consulting, Body Signals. He's been featured in Yahoo Health and a number of it. I know that I could say a lot of things about you, Jeff, but I want to introduce Mr. Jeff Langmaid. Jeff, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time. I know you're out there with your family.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm pumped to be on to chat with you. It's been a little while since we connected, so we'll dive into some topics and see if we can't give some viewers some value, answer any questions, talk through some processes, and help other people on their journey as well.
So like I told me, are you putting the ending to the vacation and the kids going to school here soon? Is that what where you're at?
You got it.
And then you're ready to get on the ground. You know, the beautiful thing about what we're going to talk about is you're actually doing it right now. Is you're actually able to go on vacation, take care of your family, have a great time, have good conversation, and make money while you're actually not even at home. How many chiropractors can actually say that?
Yeah, not too many. I'm definitely fortunate to be one of them that can, and one of the people beyond even chiropractors that is able to do it. There's a process. It takes time, and certainly there's some strategy behind it. But I think it's an attainable thing for those people that want it, right? And that's where we'll go with some of our conversation as well.
Right. So, I mean, we begged the question. People was like, okay, Randall, this is a marketing show. You got a chiropractor on there. This is a little weird. So I want to tell them a little bit about how I came across you. So me being in the digital space, working the digital space, and I started out my digital career working with chiropractors, right? And I was like, what? I wanted to be different. It was this, I wanted to refine our service. I just didn't want to be a digital agency. I wanted to be somebody who's like, give these people other ways, not just using Facebook, Instagram, and those types of things. So I started searching, and I came across the Evidence-Based Chiropractor. And I'm like, okay, what's this? And I started watching your stuff. And before I know it, I'd watched like 16 or 20. I was binge watching Jeff. I'm like, who are you watching? Who's this guy? Right. So, I think that's a good start. Like so give us a little bit of background. Obviously, you start out and you graduated. You were like, I can't wait to get my hands on someone and then treat them. What took you from that to where you are? And I know you did this, and I normally wouldn't ask. This is such an open question, but I know that you speak a lot, and that question gets asked a lot of you. So if you don't mind, share a little bit of that.
Sure. Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to be involved in healthcare. I'll kind of go through 20 years and 30 seconds here. So I always wanted to be involved in healthcare. Originally, I actually wanted to be a surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon focusing on the knee. I did a presentation in sixth grade about that, which is very weird for a sixth grader. But at any rate, as I grew older, my dad experienced some back issues, saw a chiropractor, had great results. I learned more about the profession, and it just impacted my life, health and wellness, and the thought behind what a chiropractor did resonated with my internal beliefs. So I go through the process. I become a chiropractor. I practiced as an associate under an established doc. I had my own boutique practice in Providence, Rhode Island. Then I did a really weird thing. I jumped to an orthopedic group and a big hospital-based orthopedic group. Then I did something even weirder, which is jump to a national outpatient spine surgery company. And as a chiropractor, these were very, very unique positions. And what I learned every step of that way was where big companies, big healthcare companies were spending their money, how their physicians were making decisions, how they were getting clients, patients to come in and communicating that. And that sort of tickled and scratched my itch. I started to think about this 8 years ago now at this point, saying, hey, I dig this marketing space. I dig, kind of getting out there in the community. I like building practices. I liked building my own, but I also saw kind of a peek behind the curtain, or actually stepped behind it full 2 feet, dealing with the C-level executives at companies where chiropractors had never had that experience before. So I knew I was in a unique position to bring that knowledge back to chiropractors and entrepreneurs of all kinds. And I'm just a natural content creator. So all of these things kind of fell into place where it stimulated me to be kind of what I do and what I am today.
Man, so we were chatting a little bit before, and I read somewhere about BJ Palmer. Like, what's the story behind, this with one of the founding fathers of chiropractic, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yep.
some connections further back with your family with this.
Yeah, so the chiropractic was founded by D.D. Palmer in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, and his son BJ was what's referred to as the developer of chiropractic. He's the one, he bought radio stations. He's the one that developed the school into kind of the behemoth at the time for chiropractic. So D.D. the father was the founder. BJ the son was the developer. Lo and behold, as I, kind of jumped through this part of the story, but as I started to get into chiropractic school, I found out that my great grandfather was a chiropractor who had studied under BJ Palmer in the 1920s. So, nearly 100 years ago now. I have now been able to, thankfully, have a bunch of artifacts, so to speak, business cards, pictures, a ton of stuff from that era. So there's a little bit of a broken, but a lineage there nonetheless.
Wow, that's great when you have little nuggets like that to look back on the family. And look at technology gave us the ability now with people who couldn't find their lineage. Now you can go online and you can get a blood test and find out, hey, you're not Scottish, you're actually Irish, or
Yeah.
all these crazy things. What they've done a great job with these commercials, by the way. So so now you've gained this knowledge, and you started thinking, well, I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to go to and stand and put my hands on people, so to speak. Is that a good term to use? I mean, it probably doesn't sound that good to say put my hands
No,
on
yeah.
people.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a certain aspect of it, and you and I chatted a little bit about it where, hey, I love taking care of people. I love healthcare and the personal connection that gives. But for me, I always was interested in other things as well. And I had no idea how they'd come together over time, right? That's the process, right? Learning, seeing, exploring new opportunities, meeting new people. So early on, I kind of had this itch where I was like, I like practice. I like taking care of people. I love that interaction. But there felt a little bit of a ball and chain to that practice, right? Where I had to be there physically present to give the adjustment, give the advice, lead the active care to make the dollar. That's our healthcare system by and large. There's exceptions, but our healthcare system is basically built in that transactional way. So for me, I never loved that aspect of it. And as somebody who loved to produce content And I started the Evidence Based Chiropractor completely concurrent. It wasn't like I just stopped practice and started it. I started the Evidence Based Chiropractor 8 years ago. I've been in practice about 11 years now, 12 years. So, this was something that a couple years in, I had my legs underneath me. I knew what I was doing, but I got the content bug, right? So I started to put out stuff. Of course, I look back on it now and I'm like, it was terrible, but it was getting those reps in and learning. And as time went on, there just seemed to be more and more of a need for what I was doing. And moving into late last year is when it just became a time money issue where, I only had so many hours in a day. I was working 18 hours. I was working 9.5 hours at the large surgery center, 9.5 to 10 hours a day, go home, work 3 or 4 hours minimum on the evidence-based chiropractor. And quite frankly, you looked at the time and the money with each, and these things are neck and neck at this point. So it was time to make a decision. And really, for me, it was, hey, being able to have, as you said, that independent lifestyle was something that I knew I had to at least explore, to say the least.
Right. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges? Since you're a chiropractor, you can answer, probably for them. But I'm certain that the same challenges they have is for every entrepreneur. What would you say is their biggest challenge?
Client acquisition, right? Getting patients, for a chiropractor, we'd say getting new patients in the door and retaining the patients that do come in an ethical way, right? Not that you never want to overtreat or undertreat, but within the realm of what's medically sound. Getting new patients in is always a challenge. Same as if you develop an app, you need to get it in people's hands. You need adoption, right? And then you need retention. The same as if you're selling something on a Kickstarter. What do you need? Well, you need to draw people in, get people to buy and pull out their credit card, and then retain them with other products and services and upsells potentially as time goes on. So I think a lot of the same things hold true with the chiropractic model. It's a service industry, but it's an exchange. And anytime there's an exchange, if you have a product or a service, you want to get it to somebody. Most of the time, you're looking for more people to get it to. And then once they buy in, they know, trust, and like you, then it is, well, what else can I offer or showcase to them that is valuable to them and valuable to me and my business? So I just think there's so much overlap.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, the fundamentals have not changed since business. Like, you can go back. How far you want to go back? You want to go back to the bazaars and they traded goats for pomegranate? It's the same thing. It's like, I need to get the most amount of people. I need to connect with the most amount of people, because that's a part, I think, that you and I are you're a product guy and I see your content. I mean, you understand that you got to connect with these people, whoever they are. And because if they have a true connection with you, then they start looking to you for advice. And it's when people start looking to you for advice in whatever it is you do, from selling cars to planes to treating them, that's where the money's at. But you can't. Most of us want to jump straight to, just ask me, because I have this piece of paper on the wall that says that I'm not. Like, yeah.
It's about audience building. I mean, it's like, to use a kind of a cliche term that all of us are familiar with, in 2018, it's the funnel. But I don't mean a specific product. I mean, there's an audience at the top. That audience needs to be big and wide, because from that are going to get the people who know, trust, and like you, the true believers, the people who eventually purchase a product. The people who purchase a product, you're never going to have more people purchase your product than audience, right? It's an impossibility. So therefore, exactly as you're saying, it is about getting out there. It's about building that audience, because that is what establishes that rapport, that know, trust, and like. And now when you can go to that audience and say, hey, here's something cool that I found. Let me interview this individual who I think can bring something to the table. Here's a product that I tried myself that's awesome. It enables you, if you're authentic, if you're doing it for the right reasons, and you've connected with those people, that gives you that pass, that gives you that in, that gives you the ability to kind of call them on the phone, not literally, sometimes literally, but not literally, but get to them with information that they are interested in. And from there, that can be monetized in a ton of different ways. But as you build out that audience, that's one of the most crucial things. And that's why a lot of brands, I think, product brands also are establishing more lifestyle as time goes on, right? You see a lot of brands, suitcase brand like Away, let's say, that's going towards a lifestyle travel brand outside of just selling the suitcase, is that helps expand that audience. And now as they bring under other products and services, all under the same banner, right? They're not going to all of a sudden talk about something out of left field, but they're a travel lifestyle brand. And I think that's an important point, regardless of your product or service as well, to understand, what world do you live in and how can you build out that world for your audience?
Right. And I told you this, and I'm going to say it again so the audience can hear, is that I think that you are, first off, you're just amazing in the things that you do, but more importantly, the light that I think that you put at the end of the tunnel for people in your profession, but it applies to every profession. And that is that, hey, that you're gonna find a time. I think everyone at some point who sells their time for money says, I'm tired of doing that. And for most of us, and for years before this, there was no other way. I mean, it's like maybe you could leave and go teach at a university or something, and like now you're back in the same thing, selling your time for money. The world we live in now, and what you're showing people is that, look, do all of that, cut your legs and do all of that. But then there's this second hour of your life. I mean, my dad, when he retired, for his first hour of his life, he spent doing stuff I'm pretty certain he hated. But he had 3 kids, 2 daughters and my mom, and he took care of his family first. Mm-hmm. And then when he retired, he started doing what he loved, which was refurbishing old cars. And he makes more money doing that than he ever made in the other job. And lucky for him, he actually did that. And I think that's where, where I want to move to with you is that light that you're giving people, because your example. I mean, you're actually paving the new way. You're like the new. So, I mean, you may not be the only one, but I tell you that everywhere I go, I see you speaking all over the country. You spoke internationally a couple of times now.
Yep. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to get out there, and I think again that goes back to, look, if we just break it down in business context, like, why do I do it? Well, certainly I like the travel, I like the attention, but it's also about continuing to build that audience. And I think that's one of the most important things, is especially for those individuals who are going to watch, who are products people, who are maybe developing different software products or physical goods. Where does that establish value? So there's something to be said about getting to the consumer and saying, hey, here's what it is. We'd love for you to buy now. Have a strong call to action. But before that, I also think it's about framing things, right? So meaning that if I was going to develop a piece of exercise equipment that worked on core stability, let's say, well, I could sell that, but I'd also love to be able to speak and become the forefront expert on core stability. Now I happen to have a product that supports that mission. And I think you get into some really interesting territories there, where you're able to establish that no trust and like, you're able to get out there, establish some expertise in the space. And then that gives you, again, the ability to have a conversation and to ask.
Right. And this all goes hand in hand with the topic is refining every day. I think, what is it? The Kaizen, is that what the Japanese refer to it as? The Kaizen, the continual improvement into their product. I think what happens, and let me be totally transparent. When I first started out as an entrepreneur and I made my first 7 figures, I thought I had everything figured out, and I didn't want anything to change because I figured it out, right? But when it slowly started going the wrong direction, and I was actually doing exactly the exact same thing that I did to make the first 7, I was a little confused. Like, what's going on? I'm doing exactly the same work, same system, same everything, and we're going the wrong way. And it was because the world changed, the industry changed. I mean, we may not think that Netflix and on-demand content and things like that affects us in a field that we're not in, television or radio, but it does. It does, because what happens is it changes the psyche of our customers.
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. And I think that is the evolution and the process, right? It is learning, is understanding, what are you trying to do? Like, obviously everybody, you need to, if you're selling a product, you need to have a certain amount of sales to stay in business. But beyond that, what's your goal and objective? Fancy way of putting it, that some people, well, what's the North Star, right? And
Right.
what can drive you towards that? What gets you up? Selling a product's great, but what gets you up in the morning to get out there and communicate that message? And when you can start creating content and really touching your message around that, now you start to be really compelling and adding more to the individuals who you're trying to court, for lack of a better way to put it.
Right, right. So, I promised you before, I know you had your family there and they went and ate breakfast, and then you got to enjoy your vacation, and you were gracious enough to come on the show. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to give you the opportunity that if someone, an entrepreneur, and you can even put it in the chiropractic space if that makes it easier for you. What are some core things that you believe and that you've seen that could help somebody that they could do right now that might move their needle a little bit, just a little bit, just enough that they could go, wow, that actually worked.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of those?
Yeah, I think, number one, I'll be a little bit esoteric, then I'll get real granular. So a little bit esoteric is just persistence, right? Persistence and consistency is absolutely crucial to any successful endeavor. So being able to have that consistency, that persistence over time, absolutely imperative. And that's why you need to do it something that you really care about, right? Because otherwise it's real tough to stay motivated long term. But let's get real granular. I think one of the best things right now that I see, if I'm talking about a business from zero, right? Somebody who's out there, maybe they just have a couple, they're really starting not from a place of $10,000 budgets and all this kind of stuff. I think the best thing, to do, get out. There are Facebook groups devoted to every single thing on planet Earth. Join the groups that surround your product or service and comment on 5 things a day. If you and don't pitch your product, but comment, add value. If it's CrossFit, if it's software as a service, dive in, contribute. If you do 5 per day, and not everyone's going to be a superstar comment or world beating, but if you're providing value like that, by the 15th to 20th day, you're a superstar of that group, because now people are going to know and recognize it. And they're going to check out your profile, they're going to see what you're about. But then here's kind of the clincher on this. Now, after you've done that, go to the person who is the admin of that group, message them. Hey, I love the group. It's been super important for me. I've met a ton of great people. I'd love to interview you about XYZ, about the topic of the group, right? Now you do that on your page. You're going to be able to, in an ethical way, siphon a lot of views, a lot of people over to what you're doing in a way that was, in Seth Godin term, permission-based, right?
Right.
And in a way that's not sleazy, salesy, or hawky, you know what I mean? Or black hat technique. But you contribute. It doesn't take too long. A couple weeks of consistent contribution in a group, people are going to know and recognize your name. It doesn't take that much. Then get to the admin of that group. They're going to have recognize your name. Get them on your channel in any format that you see fit. Maybe you like to write, great, do that. If you want to have them on video, fantastic. If you want to do audio, great. Doesn't matter the platform that you decide to use, but get some content featuring them on your channel, your product page, your Facebook page, whatever, again, platform specifically that is. They're going to highlight it and drive people over. You built some trust. Now you are going to have an instant audience. It might not be 3,000 people, but it's going to give you some wins of at least a few dozen. And these are going to be people who actually care about who you are and what you do.
Man, that is such great advice. It's actually advice I gave myself, working with this. And it goes right back to, constantly refining. Like what is out there that this wasn't 10 years ago. This wasn't possible to do this. Or if it did, it was a lot more challenging. It looked differently. Let's say that. Now it's super easy. It takes you a couple of minutes to actually fill out. If it's a group that requires you to answer some questions, maybe they take an hour or so to answer them. Boom, you get in there. You start looking for something that you actually know something about. Somebody's asking a question, you answer it.
Yep.
I mean, Zig Ziglar said it, and I'm sure that he got that from somebody else. You give everybody what they want, and you'll always get what you want.
No doubt. No doubt. I think that's Super important way to go about it. And when you can contribute, and I say Facebook group, you could do that on Reddit, right? Again, I don't think the platform is specific. You could do it on a very popular YouTube channel. So don't get hung up or caught up on the specific platform, but make sure that you are being consistent and persistent with how you're delivering that message in that forum that you choose. Facebook groups, I think, are a great way to go. It's just easy. Most of us have Facebook pages, of course, so that makes things real easy. And that'll go a long way towards building some audience, building some credibility in this space.
Right. Well, I'm not going to keep you anymore. We could literally talk all day. I know it. We're just not, we can't even scratch it. Normally I do this for 45 minutes, but in this case, I want to keep it under 30 minutes, and we're coming up on the 30 minutes, but I wanted to give you the opportunity. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, wanted to, watch your content, because I think some of your stuff, you don't have to be a chiropractor to implement some of this stuff. You just change the word chiropractic and put dentist. But lawyer. I've looked at I've read at least 20 of your blogs, and you do a great job.
Thank you.
Where would you want them to find you? What are some of the places that you would like to?
Yeah, I think probably the easiest one, is on YouTube. If you're a marketer, if you're an entrepreneur, a product person, a service-oriented person, you could check out almost everything that I do. A lot of video, and youtube.com/the Evidence Based Chiropractor. And we can certainly put that link down in the comments below after we hop off as well. That's a great place to just get a taste of it. Yeah, you're gonna notice some healthcare specific items, but I certainly also broke it up into playlists where, as you said, a lot of the marketing, it's tried and true techniques. It's things that either I've learned from people that are a lot more advanced and experienced and smarter than I am, packaged in my voice, or it's things that I've spent time, energy, money, and had some setbacks and some failures and learned as well. So I agree with you. I think, for all of us out there that are, striving towards living some form of an independent life, whether it's a side hustle, an independent income that way, or full time, I think there's a lot of synergies between all types of business. There's some tried and true ways to get out there. And if you ever want to check any of what my thoughts are on it, youtube.com/the Evidence Based Chiropractor is a great place to start.
Yeah. Well, again, man, I want to thank you. You give me the most valuable thing you have, and that's your time. And I really do appreciate it. I think our audience will appreciate it. Again, follow him on YouTube/the Evidence Based Chiropractor. And check out his Facebook page. Check out, he's got a couple other things going on, and listen to a podcast. Even if you're not a chiropractic, I learned a lot listening to some of your 15 minutes segments, the 15 to 20 minute segments. Well, everybody, we're coming to the end here. Hey, if you're not already following us on the Think Like a Marketer show on Facebook, go ahead and do that. We provide a lot of other things on the page other than just these shows. I do a quick videos, tips. If I find somebody who I think is interesting and provide value to you, I'll post it on the page. Also, we got the all-in marketer group for marketers who want to come in, have other people, talk about what's going on in the world. So you can find me there, and on Instagram at rchestnut, and that's 2 T's at the end, no T in the middle. I say little in the middle, but I got much back.
Well done.
Well, hey, Jeff, again, thanks. And you enjoy yourself out there. And hey, thanks everybody for joining us on episode number 11 of the Think Like a Marketer show.